To all who come to this happy place, welcome.
Please stand clear of the doors. Por favor, manténganse alejados de las
This here's
puertas.
a wild ride in the wilderness.
When invisibility doors change.
So today on Miles from Main Street, we are talking biggest Disney regrets. But first, here's a word from our sponsor. Not really sponsor. Brian. Brian is just my co-host.
Hey everyone. So yeah, we're going to talk some regrets. I think it'll be a fun one. I thought we had done an episode like this, but I went looking back through our list of episodes and we have not talked about this yet. So I think it'll be a good one. Have some fun with it. Hopefully I can rectify some of these down the road. But before we go too far, go out and share this with a friend. Let them know that you're having a great time listening to Miles from Main Street and have them come along for the ride as well. I've been talking to a few people out there that, they're looking at taking trips, and I keep pointing them towards this podcast because we do cover a lot of different things with tips on how to do a trip. So if you know anybody taking a trip, point them our direction. I think we can help them out. And while you're out there listening to the podcast, give it a rating and review. It'd be great to have that out there as well. That really helps us out.
And when they get pointed to our podcast, we'll point them to Melissa with years of experience.
Yes, Melissa has really been helping us out. It was a lot of fun talking to her last week. If you haven't listened to that episode yet, go back and listen to that when we talk about all the holidays that are coming up at Disney World, Halloween, Thanksgiving, Christmas. She has a lot of great tips for us, and she's looking to help you out with your trip.
Anyways, we've got Disney regrets on the docket here, and I have a couple. These are the types of things that, like, either I didn't get to do anything, or I haven't done something, or I missed out on something. That's kind of what we're looking at with Disney regrets. But I am going to politely let my co-host go first with his Disney regrets. Brian, what do you got for us?
Wow. Thanks, Mikhailo.
I'm so nice. I know.
You are. Wow. I just given me all the... Okay. Well, I'm going to start with one, and this is from the first time we took our kids. So we're talking 2012. And back then, it's been 11 years now. It's 2023. They offered a lot of different things that they don't offer anymore. So back then, they offered the Pirates Adventure Cruise. This was a 2-hour cruise, not to be confused with a 3-hour cruise for those of you Gilligan's Island fans. This was a 2-hour cruise. You put your kids out there. No adults were allowed. They had cast members that were like trained in CPR and certified, whatever, because you were leaving your kids on a boat with Captain Hook for 2 hours, and they would get lunch, or at least a snack. They would go on a pirate treasure hunt with Captain Hook and go out on Seven Seas Lagoon and get to travel around for 2 hours. And it looked like a lot of fun for the kids to do. So when we took them, I was working hard on Tammy to let the kids go do this. And then I could take her off for breakfast that morning somewhere nearby. And I could not talk her into it. She just was not willing to let her kids go. And the reason this all came up, like this idea, Tammy and I were talking on our podcast, The Thoughtful Spot, and it kind of came up then about this Pirates Adventure Cruise. And, she said, well, I didn't really understand Disney yet. Because now if I told her Disney's going to take our kids for 2 hours, she'd be like, "Where do I drop them off?" um, so it's something that I wish we could have had the kids do, and now they don't offer it anymore. But how cool is that? Like, to be able to get on a boat with Captain Hook for 2 hours, like that's, time to get to know them. And the kids could have met new friends along the way, cuz it's, more than just your kids, it's other kids as well. And it just sounded like a really cool experience for them. And I could have gone and had breakfast somewhere. I don't know where I would have gone, but it would have been somewhere nearby, and um would have been delicious, I'm sure. But
Mhm.
that's kind of one of my regrets that I've still got in my head.
Yeah, that does sound fun. That sounds like something I'd want to do. And I've never, I mean, other than the ferries, I've never been out like on a boat, um, like on that. And I think, did you say that it was like Seven Seas Lagoon that like they took them out on?
Yeah, so the place that I think it was I think they took off from the Contemporary Resort was the one that I was looking at. This came up in conversation when we were talking about the Grand Floridian, so they had another one there. But yeah, I mean, it would have been something that you would go around Seven Seas Lagoon. I want to say there was an island they even stopped at to find the treasure.
Was it Discovery Island?
No, Discovery Island was
I was gonna
was
say,
that was given up to the crocs a long time, or the alligators a long
yeah.
time ago. So, um, no, that was long gone by the time we would have been there. But I want to say there was something where they would have stopped at an island or something and gone digging for treasure.
Hmm.
So, I have been out. When we stayed at Fort Wilderness, I was able to get out on the lake on the boats that would go between the Contemporary and the Magic Kingdom
Hmm.
and the Wilderness area. So it is cool. I always go back on the fact that I was able to cross the water bridge.
Yeah.
I am just enamored with that. I think that's awesome. I think
I
there's 3 of them on property too, if I
really,
remember
I think
correctly.
I only know of that one.
Yeah, I think there's 3, and I can't remember where they are. I want to say one's at Epcot.
Hmm. That would make sense. But yeah, that sounds like a lot of fun, and it sucks that like it's not something that they do anymore. But
I know,
yeah,
because I said right away, hopefully I can rectify these regrets at some point, and this is one of those things that I can't imagine them ever bringing it back at this
yeah,
point. Um, it'd be nice if they did, but it seems like the whole pirates thing has had its turn, so I don't know
yeah,
that they'll bring
yeah.
it back.
Maybe when they make the new Johnny Depp Pirates movies that they keep threatening to make, it might come
Right.
back, might get more
Yeah.
popular.
Well, they did want to make one around Red, the pirate that now
Hmm.
holds an auction.
Yes.
Yeah, they wanted to make a movie around her, and I thought that would have been really cool. Like they say, no idea is dead at Disney. It just gets shelved for a while. So, maybe we'll see any of the and all of that come along at some point.
Yeah, maybe. Well, I am going to share my Disney regret that I have. And this is one that I can't rectify because it also doesn't exist. And that is I've seen it, but I never really understood how like epic and cool it was. I just liked the rollerblading monkeys. And that is I would like to have seen um, Tarzan Rocks more and appreciate it more. Because I saw it once when I was
Hmm.
very young. And then now like watching videos and like seeing what it was and like listening to the music, it was like epic. So if I was able to go back in time and like go and view that show more and appreciate it more, I would have loved that. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, Tarzan Rocks was a show that they did at, was that Animal Kingdom? I think it was at Animal Kingdom. Yeah, it was at Animal Kingdom.
It was in the Theater of the Wild, which is now
which is
Finding
now
Nemo.
the Finding Nemo. Yeah. Well, basically, what it was this show about Tarzan, and it was all Phil Collins music, which was like already epic. Like if you just had a show with just all of that Tarzan Phil Collins music, like that would have been an amazing show by itself.
Right.
But the thing that they did to plus this show was they had rollerblading monkeys that were doing all of these rollerblade tricks while they were doing like all of this amazing Phil Collins music. I liked it because like back in the day, I was like really into extreme sports and stuff like that. So like this was like spot on for me. But just like how they had this guy that was dressed up like he literally looked like Phil Collins, like doing all of this singing for like all of the songs, and they had like two other people that were like backing him up. And it was just like all so epic. And just like as a kid, like I kind of understood what was going on because I was like a musical kid and my parents all knew music. But like really just like now looking back and seeing what that show was, it's like I would have, and I feel like honestly we all probably would have appreciated it more now, because I feel like that music, that Tarzan music, has kind of like spiked in popularity again. Like it's kind of come back a little bit. So yeah, that I think about that a lot actually, about how I got to go see Tarzan Rocks and how I wish I had seen it more, and I wish I had seen it like as more as an adult and somebody who like could have like really gotten into this show, because like it was so cool. My friend Jason talks about it all the time. I feel like anytime I hang out with Jason, he brings up Tarzan Rocks just somehow, and he'd be like, "Oh yeah," and then there was Tarzan Rocks. Tarzan Rocks was really cool. I think he got to like sub on drum set at one point for Tarzan Rocks.
Nice.
But like it was the coolest show. And I'm lucky that I got to see it once, but I just wish I would have been able to see it more times and appreciated what it was, because it if you like Tarzan at all, look it up, because it's just like this epic show with like all of these extreme sports and Phil Collins music and these great musicians. It's just very, very cool.
I'm gonna have to go look that video up. I did get to see it when we were honeymooning there in 2002, and I remember my sister, because she spent a year and a half working for Disney around that time as well, and I remember her saying, "You have to go see Tarzan. It is just awesome." And so I did. We went and saw it, and I remember pieces of it, but not very vividly at this point. So I would like to go find that video and watch it again. I do remember enjoying it. I remember the theater was smaller than it is now and not covered like it is. Because when they brought Nemo in, they expanded that theater like crazy. So, yeah, I this is actually one that anytime it comes up, I love being able to say, I saw that.
Yeah,
That's
me too.
one I saw.
Yeah. I was definitely very young, but yeah, I saw it.
Yeah. I was young. I was young too. Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah. Very young. Yep.
Younger than you are now.
It was a great show. I remember the rollerblades for sure. But yeah, I think they even came into the crowd at one point.
They do, yeah. And I remember this is like one of the I have some. If I sometimes I feel like it's the butterfly effect, where I just like remember random parts of my life extremely vividly. But I remember at one point the rollerbladers came out into the crowd, and they were like two of them fell in front of us. And I saw them just like acting like monkeys, like right in front of us with their rollerblades on. And I remember thinking that was so cool. So,
Yeah, I'm gonna have to dig that video up.
Mm-hmm.
That's a good one. So I have another regret. Um, this one goes back to our last trip, and last trip being at Disney World in 2021. It was getting to be the end of our trip. Our last park day was in the Magic Kingdom. It was near the end of the day, and Splash Mountain was 70 minutes long. And we kept thinking this could be the last time, because at this point Disney had announced it was going away at some point. And Mia absolutely loved the ride at that time, and we were saying like we should get on it. But we were tired at the end of the day. It was hot at that point still, and we were beat, and we got in the line for maybe 5, maybe 10 minutes, and it barely moved. Like, it was so long, it was sticking out into the walkway,
Mm-hmm.
like by the old Briar Patch gift shop that used to be there. Like, it wasn't even into the queue yet. We were out that far, and I'm just like, this isn't moving. This doesn't feel good. And we chose to leave. I think we ended up going to Space Mountain after that. But I will always regret that one. And again, here's another one. I tried to we were able to kind of rectify it though, because we did get on Splash Mountain at Disneyland
Mm-hmm.
before it closed. So that was kind of our last hurrah with it. But that was, in 2021, that was one that we left kind of going, darn it. Why did we let that happen?
And I have to say, because I'm kind of in the same boat with that, where it's like the last time I rode Splash Mountain, we didn't really officially know that it was the last time we were riding Splash Mountain. Um, but I have to say that the time that you and I rode Splash Mountain was probably the most fun I've had on a Splash Mountain.
Yes, I think that'll probably be the best memory that I will have of Splash Mountain at this
Mm-hmm.
point. I've had a lot of fun riding that ride with my kids, and the kids were on that one as well, and we all had a blast. So, watching you get soaked, and if you're a newer listener and you don't know what we're talking about, you can get the full story on our Disneyland review podcast that we did back in February, March.
Yeah, sorry we're not Lou Mangello and we don't have a number for you.
But yeah, you can get the full story back there. It's just basically Disneyland review is the name of it. But in short, we went on it. Mikhailo was in front, squealing like a girl because he got head to toe drenched.
Drenched. Completely
And
soaked.
It was hilarious. And we all had a blast doing it.
Brian was in the back just laughing at me. Brian laughed throughout almost the entire ride.
I was. I was getting wet too. My shoe, when we got off of that ride, was waterlogged.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
there was water in our log.
I mean, I can't believe how wet my shoe was. But yeah, I'm just glad that we were able to get on Splash Mountain at Disneyland, because that kind of helps with the big regret of not getting on it at Disney World before we left.
Mm-hmm.
I don't, Mia's never really talked about not getting on it that last time. So that I think helps as well. But it was something that my wife and I would lament over once in a while. So
I have to say, I had thoughts about making a quick trip out there and going and riding like the night that it closed. And it was crazy watching the live streamers and the YouTubers and everybody post their content about that night, because it was just so cool to see everybody appreciate that ride as much as they did.
mm-hmm.
And I feel like I mean, that's one that like I really would have considered just like going out and like going to Disney for a day to just do that. Um
Yeah.
and maybe this is another episode, Brian. Rides that we would go to Disney if they were getting rid of. I mean, I would pick it. I would chain myself to Haunted Mansion if they ever said that they were going to get rid of Haunted Mansion. And I'm pretty sure there would be a lot of other people with me doing that.
Oh yeah.
Um, but yeah, it's interesting to kind of think about that, about what rides you would kind of like take that day to go and ride before it went away. Splash Mountain's definitely one of the close ones, but I am happy that we were able to have the Disneyland experience.
Yes, absolutely. So how about another regret from you?
So this one is pretty personal. Um, and I mean, it sucks because I mean, I think I kind of want to recreate it at some point. But when I proposed to my now wife, it was at Disney World, but it wasn't where I wanted to do it. Where I did it was definitely very special, but it wasn't necessarily where I wanted to do it. And basically, what happened was this was my plan. We were going to ride Haunted Mansion, and then I knew that outside of the queue of Haunted Mansion, they have a PhotoPass cast member, and I was going to propose there and get all of the photos of me proposing in front of Haunted Mansion with PhotoPass. Not come to find out, but what happened on the ride though was we got evac'd, and we were kind of like towards the end of the ride, so we got evac'd pretty quickly. And I had the thought in my head that I was like, oh my god, do I do it inside of Haunted Mansion? But then I was also kind of like, well, I mean, I want pictures and I want them to be nice pictures, so I'll just wait until we're outside of Haunted Mansion and then do it there. So we're getting off the ride, and I'm still kind of like thinking like, oh my god, like this would be insane if I could just do it like right here in the ride. But I just wanted the pictures, and I wanted everything to be perfect, like the way that I wanted to do it. We get outside of Haunted Mansion, and the PhotoPass cast members are nowhere to be found. Apparently, what happens when a ride goes down like that, they take all the cast members and they like put them in like one central area. So like all the cast members left and went somewhere because the ride was down. Which is lame because I wanted pictures.
Oh no.
And I wanted to propose in front of Haunted Mansion with a PhotoPass cast member. So we ended up kind of walking around the park a little bit, and I was kind of like we passed Haunted Mansion a couple times, and I looked in to see if like it had reopened or to see if there were PhotoPass cast members back there, and there weren't. So finally, like after a couple hours of walking around, I was like, okay, like we'll just do it in front of the castle because like that's also very magical as well. So that's where I did it, but I still have this regret of not doing it inside of the ride because we were getting evac'd. Because that would have been epic, and it would have meant a lot to both of us because we both really love that ride. So
I can totally understand that one. And you've brought that story up a couple of times, and I always think, why didn't you do that?
I know.
But it's so hard. It's so hard when you're in the moment to even, like you had it in your head, but to even just flip the switch and do it, like that's a big thing. And, it's hard to fault yourself for that. So don't dwell on it too much. But I can totally understand that. The other thing that I've learned since you've been there and since you've done the proposal is that now I know that if you let cast members know that you're going to propose, they'll make a big deal out of it, and they'll
Mhm.
figure out, like, especially if you give them time, they will do something special for you. So, for all of you out there looking to get married at some point, you're going to be proposing, this is something you could do, is like, go to a photo pass photographer and say, I'm coming back here in an hour to propose to my girlfriend. Can you get pictures of us? Don't expect anything, but they might be able to have something planned for you then.
Mhm.
So, it's just that they want to help you make it special. And, I wonder if for you at that moment, nah, probably not, because like I was thinking, like, if you were to say to the cast member, I need to do this right now, can you take a picture, please? Like, they probably would have done that, but I'm thinking they're probably in crisis mode at that point, and they need to get
Yeah.
everybody off the ride, so they're not really going to be worried about you wanting to propose.
Yeah, and the other thing that I've thought of is that, like, I guess my biggest thing was like, oh, I want pictures of this,
Yeah.
because like you want to remember the moment, you want to have pictures of the moment, but it's like I could have turned around to whoever was behind us and like given my phone to an adult and just been like, hey, something important's about to happen. Because like, I mean, if that happened to me, I would be like, okay, I'm your photographer, like let's go, like like
Right.
let's do this. So hopefully, like, had I done that, somebody would have been into it. But I totally could have done that, where like just hand my phone to somebody and be like, please take pictures of what's about to happen. And then just propose on Haunted Mansion.
Which would have been cool. But,
I
like
feel
I said, though, to be, a full mind to be able to say, hey, take
Mhm.
pictures of this and do it, like, that takes a lot.
And honestly, we weren't in an awesome spot. Um, we were right in front of those mirrors that show you the hitchhiking ghosts. So like, had we been just a little further back, like in that giant um uh room with all of the tombstones and everything, the graveyard,
Mm-hmm.
that I probably would have been like, okay, like this is really cool out here. Like, let's do it here.
Yeah.
But and I think that's what was in my mind, was like, you know what, like this area is not that great. We'll just get outside in front of Haunted Mansion and we'll just do it there. And then I got out out there and there was nobody there. So
Yeah. That, go back and redo it.
yeah, I know.
You know, not to get too off track with my proposal story, but mine was done in Madison, local, just on a whim one night, and we got to honeymoon at Disney. So now that we've gotten to be such big Disney people, I almost want to just do it when we're there one time, and nobody needs to know that we're married. Like, I'll just maybe I buy an Enzo ring and I'll just give it to her there and propose to her, and she'll be like, "What the hell are you doing?"
Every so often, I'll just get on one knee while we're at Disney. And and there was one time, actually, this was that day, and Kristen wanted to take like a video in Peter Pan's flight, and I think there was like barely any line uh, behind us, and so we were in that room that shows you that shows you your shadow, that like
Mhm.
projects your shadow. And I did that, and all all of these teenage girls walk in, and they're like, "Oh my god!" And we were like, "No, we did it already. You're not missing anything." um, but yeah, that was funny. But yeah, every so often when I'm in Disney, I'll just randomly get on one knee, and she'll be like, "No, no, no, no! What are you doing?"
I should do that.
So
I'm just gonna do it to her. Maybe on our December trip, I'll do that,
yeah,
and you have to take pictures of it.
I will. Yes, because I'll take pictures of it and then I'll do it.
All right, so for my last one, it has to do with our last trip to Disneyland, and I've gone on and on and on about the many regrets I have over the Disneyland trip, which all basically is around planning, right? But the one that I go back to a lot is on our last day, I forgot we had a reservation at Trader Sam's, and it was after the 2-hour cancellation window. And so I was trying to find a way to cancel it, and we had gone over to the tiki room, and we were in the wait area, and I'm worried about trying to get this darn thing canceled. And we actually walked into the tiki room, and we were about to sit down, and I said, we got to go. We got to get to our reservation, or they're going to charge us. And so we walked out, and it's our fourth day. We had been going open to close for 3 days straight. We opened again on the fourth day. So we're pretty tired at this point.
Mm-hmm.
Walk across the park over to the monorail, and the monorail's down. And I'm going, there's no way I'm trudging my family all the way over to Disneyland Hotel at this point. And so we chose not to go at that point. And the deciding factor was, I said to my wife, I said, if we don't make it, it'll cost us $40 if they charge us. And she said, $40, forget it. It's not worth it. Let them charge it. So at that moment that we made that decision, my daughter says, hey, Space Mountain's only 15 minutes. So we got on there. But my regret is that I didn't make that decision sooner and get into the tiki room. I mean, this is the original of all originals. I had a guy when we were near the Lincoln show. I had a guy when we were near the Lincoln show talking to us, and he said, oh, it's your first time? Make sure you get to the tiki room. It's the original first thing. It's what everything's been built on since. And, it's like, that's how important that is to the regulars at Disneyland, that they pointed out to people that it's their first time at Disneyland. Like, you need to go do this. And so I remember walking in, and I'm going, crud. And we make the decision to leave, and I looked over at the fountain in the middle, because at Disneyland, the fountain actually works. During the show, there's water coming out of it.
Mm-hmm.
And so I made a point of looking at it, because that's different than Disney World. And we walked out. And to this day, I wish I would have stayed. Big regret on my part. Probably minor, easily fixable. There's a very good chance that we'll all be there in June. So I will make a point of going to the tiki room while I'm there. So, but at this point, it's just one of those things that, being the historian that I've become with Disney, and then walking out of the show right before it starts, like, that's kind of nuts on my part. So, so yeah, it's just a regret of mine, and did not, I watched Disneyland videos, and like, oh, I didn't get enough time to do that. I didn't buy a darn Dole Whip while waiting for the tiki room, because I was worried about this stupid reservation. So, it's just, I got to get back there and rectify some of this.
Yeah, I mean, I've got something similar with Tiki Room, where it's like, for the longest time it was something I would never go and see, because it was always like, it was always something that I could pass over. Like, oh, Tiki Room is just a bunch of birds. And so
Mhm.
I would never go do it. And then I had, and maybe it's because of like my Disney fandom strengthening. But like, the time that I had when Kristen and I got our tropical serenades. I think this is like during COVID too. We got our tropical serenades and we waited in line. We got in to the tiki room with our tropical serenades, and we're just sitting there like eating this delicious treat while the tiki room was happening. And I was just like, oh my god, like this this is actually really awesome. I guess I feel like I have a little bit of regret that like I hadn't done that sooner. Like I hadn't given um given the tiki room a chance, basically. um I don't really feel that way about like anything else. Like I've tried pretty much everything else that like rides like that. Things like the Hall of Presidents and the American Adventure and like random things like that like are like, I mean, I guess maybe um the Canada Circle Vision, because I actually really enjoy that as well. Kristen doesn't like it because she feels sick when she gets into those 360 video things.
Mm.
But yeah, it's just like things like that like I used to really pass over because I was like, I need to do this, and then I finally gave it a chance, and I was actually really into it. So yeah, that's kind of my regret with Tiki Room, is that I didn't give it a chance early enough.
Yeah, so I think there's two lessons here. One, really think about if you really need to make that reservation. And I think what it really boils down to is if you're a perpetual skipper of reservations, then they are going to charge you that fee. But, like for us, it's our first time at Disneyland. We only had, I think, 2 reservations the whole weekend, one of them being this Trader Sam's. And we skipped out on it that one time, and I think they looked at it and went and said, "Well, whatever happened, they missed it for some reason. We're not going to ding them for it." So, really think about whether it's worth getting to that reservation, or if it's better just to watch the darn birds. And the other one is, from Mikhailo, like, give everything a chance there. As Shakira would tell you, try everything.
I was thinking about that same song.
Try everything, because I kind of did the same thing. I had never done Country Bears or Carousel of Progress or the Tiki Room. And so when it was just my wife and I there, we just went and did those and enjoyed it. And like you said, you really, really enjoyed Tiki Room. So give all of it a chance if you can.
Yeah, I totally agree.
I'll get off my soapbox now.
So I had a tough time deciding on my third one, but I think I'm going to go with this one. And it's kind of sappy, and it's definitely Disney themed. But I'm going to go with, I regret not meeting my now wife earlier in my life and being able to enjoy the Disney fandom that we have together with her for longer. And I bring this up because I feel like after finding her, I mean, I had already started a Disney podcast, so I was like pretty deep into into the Disney fandom, but I feel like I was still kind of like not closed off in my Disney fandom, but like still kind of felt like it had a little bit of that stigma. But then meeting Kristen and like sharing that Disney fandom and having somebody who was like ready to like jump headfirst into all things Disney really made me feel comfortable in loving what I love and like showing that love. It's gotten to the point now where most things that I wear is Disney themed. And I have to tell you, Brian, you are one of the influences on me of that, because I would see you all the time wearing something Disney. And I don't know why I felt, before I met Kristen, why I felt like, oh, like I'll wear Disney stuff sometimes, or like, oh, I'll wear Disney stuff like when I'm at the parks. Um, but it's weird to like wear Disney things out and about normally.
Yeah.
And then meeting Kristen and like having that realization of like, you know what, like I'm just gonna like what I like, and like do what I want to do and wear what I want to wear and act the way that I want to act. I feel like she was the one that really kind of like let me go like in like really headfirst into the fandom in that way, and like made me really feel comfortable with doing the things that I want to do and loving the things that I want to love. So she's pretty great.
So I think that's a great story. I think that you're pretty young. I think you'll be all right. You got plenty of life ahead of you. But going back to the clothing thing, like I would always come off a trip and I would leave my magic band on for a few weeks after that,
Mm-hmm.
because people would ask me about it, right? So it just gave me a chance to talk about it a little bit more and continue living it. Um, and after, I believe it was after the 2019 trip that we took, I came home and I'm like, why do I want to put this Disney stuff away until the next trip? Just wear it, just put it on, wear it. So then COVID came along and it was like every day is t-shirt and shorts unless it's cold out, you know. So I don't have to dress up for work anymore. So I might as well just wear what I'm comfortable in. And that's when it was just really every day was Mickey or Disney of some sort, right? And it's interesting how you talk about that, because when I first moved to Green Bay from Madison, it stuck out to my mom and I quite a bit how people around here wear Packers gear every day of the week. Okay, like you go somewhere and you will see somebody wearing Packers stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so why would it be any different if you just enjoy a fandom? Wear it,
Mm-hmm.
if that's what you want to do. So I'm happy that I was able to influence you a little bit. Does that make me an official influencer?
Yes, you are an influencer. I think you honestly, I mean, like, I think we are influenced. I feel like at some point we've influenced someone to either look up a YouTuber or look up Disney or do something. So I think we're influencers.
Yes. Well, we have to thank our regular listener for letting us be an influencer.
Yes, thank you, thank you, listener.
Which reminds me, I completely forgot at the top of the show. We need to talk about this on an upcoming episode. I'm going to call him out one more time because you weren't here last week when I mentioned it, but we got an email from a fan named Van Obi-Wan. It was the name on the email. And he wants us to talk about Genie Plus.
Okay.
So we need to do that. He's got a trip coming up. And we need to talk about that. Genie Plus, and I believe Memory Maker may have been in that. I need to go read his email again. But yeah, it was great hearing from him. So Van Obi-Wan, thank you again for that email. We will definitely get to that and talk about the differences of Genie Plus and Memory Maker and all that good stuff between Disneyland and Disney World. So maybe that's for next week. Hey, Mikhailo?
Yeah, that sounds great. I would love to just ramble on about Genie Plus and Memory Maker and all of those things.
Yeah, so I mean, if you guys have a Disney regret, come on out to Facebook and Instagram. We are at Miles from Main Street. We'd love to hear what your Disney regret is. We have a lot of other memories and regrets that we could talk about, but these were some of the important ones to us, and maybe there's one or two that you need to get off your chest. Come on out and let us know about it. And if you don't want to do it there, you can do it on the Facebook community group, Or, like they tell you when you're figuring out how to do a podcast, don't give a whole bunch of call to action. Like, but here I am going through all of them. We have voicemail, we have email, we have Facebook, we have Instagram. Go find it all on the website, www.milesfrommaineST.com. And I'll stop there.
Yeah, I think this was definitely a good episode, but like we always say, some live close,
but others don't.
So let's talk about it. We'll see you next time on Miles from Main Street.